Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Monday. Bringing on a co-host today to help with the episode. Welcome back, Jordan at Zips Cards. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Nice, bright and early to accommodate my work schedule, pre-work. So I appreciate it. If any of y'all are coffee fans, my Utica Coffee, where my wife's from, wake the hell up. That's their slogan. So that's what we're doing right now.
We could start a new podcast, be like wake up hobby or this is I have to say, of all, I'm in season 5, right? 238 episodes, and I've never done an early morning episode ever.
Wow.
I'm not a morning person.
I'm honored. I'm so
I would
special.
rather stay up late at night than do it in the morning. So yes, this is a whole new after all these episodes, a whole new thing for me.
Yeah. The only time me and you would be able to do, we should shoot one in like a golf cart then. Early tea time.
Driving in golf carts. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So brought you on today. We're going to talk about the East Coast Collectibles Convention. It was at Mohegan Sun Resort and Casino this weekend. So I was there both days, Saturday, Sunday. You came and set up with me on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I have these numbers right. I talked to Scott, the promoter, when I was, it was that. Here I am in my mind. I'm planning the episode, what I'm going to talk about, and I should have been like that reporter with my pad and pen, taking notes, because it's at the end of a 2-day long show, and I'm having a conversation with him. I'm pretty sure he said it was 176 tables, and I know Saturday was a record day for attendance at that show. So, they were just short of 3,000 attendees on Saturday. That's including children.
Wow.
And Sunday was about 45% of that. So it was definitely a busy day there. So you were there Saturday, the busiest day. Talk to me. What do you think? What did you see?
First, I just want to say thank you so much for letting me bum a little spot off of you for the table. I just think you're a great friend for that. Obviously, I've had some crazy health things in the last couple months, so I appreciate you being a friend and letting me do that. Like, really, honestly. So first, before talking about the numbers and stuff like that, which 45% of 3,000 still sounds like a great turnout. Honestly, like that's crazy. So I didn't even see that. I just saw the big day. The reason, or one of the things I saw, because I know you had mentioned kids, there were a lot of kids there. And I felt like this show brings in a diverse group. Like, there were kids, there were a lot of women there, which, like, usually you just think sports cards is a stereotypical, like, guy, right? Like, it's just usually a bunch of guys there, but it really wasn't, and it was nice to see. When I was early before the show started, I went to Carlos. I walked out the bakery just to get a coffee, and there's a kid in line, and he saw I had the thing. He said, "Oh, you're at the card show." I said, "Yeah," and he was at the basketball tournament that was right around the corner, and he must have been like 10 or under, and he asked me if I had any kabooms as I was waiting in line for my coffee, and I said, I don't have any kabooms on me. I was like, but if you go in there, I'm sure you'll find some kabooms, which was great, But the show itself seemed great. I just set up like a value box. I had a pretty decent value box, I thought, from collections I've kind of amassed on from buying locally, and I would say, between football and basketball, it seemed what people were buying for me. Some people bought a few baseball cards for me, but it was more football and basketball that people seemed to really want. And even more so, from what I saw from your value boxes, is that there were every sort of walks of life just digging vigorously at the WNBA stuff. Like for real. I don't know if I would have believed it if I didn't see it, but the interest in WNBA is really there. It's not like manufactured, at least in my opinion. It's not like pumped. Like people are there to collect it. Like I specifically remember two girls going through like and then looking on their phone to see, oh, do I have this one? And it's like they just wanted to collect like I don't know if it was teams or whatever, but like it seems like a lot of the people who are into WNBA are more so collectors than flipper. I don't know if you see that or not, but from the few encounters I saw with you, it seemed like there's a lot of collectors there with WNBA.
But you have to remember too. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna go back on a. I want to touch on a couple things you said.
I said a lot. Sorry.
Yeah. First of all, there was a basketball tournament going on there, so I know the place was mobbed to begin with, probably young teen tweens, right? They were, the age group there, and there was and it reminded me a lot of when my kids were younger and I was doing hockey tournaments. And I had that feel that weekend walking in and out that there would be like a number of families, like the parents, all, with the coffees in their hand and the kids with their bags, going in and out. So it kind of gave me that feel. I don't want to say a lot of those, because there was that tournament came into this show, but I know there were a good number of
people. There were some.
Sunday today, I know, or yesterday, I noticed Sunday there was a lot more like 4, 5, 6 small kids with the groups of parents standing in the background talking, and the kids were, digging through value boxes and things like that. So, and as far as the WNBA stuff, I want to say people were meeting at my table, not meeting like I'm going to meet you at that guy's table, but they were there were women at the table that, just started talking about that. You were sitting right there. There was the two women that just walked up and they started exchanging information. They started talking about the players that they collect.
They became best friends. It seemed like right at your table. It was awesome.
They never met before. They met at my table and they were fast friends. By the time they left, they had each other's information. I have these cards and you have those cards and hit me up for this and I have that. And these were two women that showed up to the show by themselves to collect WNBA or to buy WNBA cards.
And I remember one of them saying that one was like, I collect UConn players, which obviously for everyone listening on the podcast, we're in Connecticut.
That was huge this week. And a lot of the players a lot of people came in, and it certainly helped me, right? I have a case full of Paige Bueckers cards, right? And we're here at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and UConn will play a number of games there, at their arena. So it certainly helped. A lot of the people who came to the table just said, do you have any UConn players? Like, I don't care if they're, in the NBA or the WNBA, they just wanted to collect, UConn players. And I asked somebody, I said, have you always collected UConn? And they said, no, but with Paige this year and getting into the hype of it, like they want to be part of it. They want to come out and they want to be part of the hobby. And this is where they want to start because this is what their passion is. If you grew up in Connecticut, I did, you did, right? UConn basketball has been enormous in this state, since the 90s. So it's really, we've had championship teams. So it's stuff that we can really relate to.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder about that too, because I always think like, for like, how many fanatic people there are just about sports. So it's like the crossover to get into cards, right? Mm-hmm. Like you had asked them, did they collect UConn? And it's like, they probably didn't collect UConn cards, but I bet they have like UConn, like a ton of UConn clothes or like little banners or, you know what I'm saying? Like more stereotypical, like more mainline collecting things if you're a fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's a ton of those people who, like, if they knew about cards, like, would cross over. And I also wonder, because it's Paige, right? Like, Paige Bueckers is the one that's gotten a couple of these people that we saw firsthand into it. I wonder how much of that's like NIL. I'm sorry, and like, didn't Paige just sign a huge contract with Panini?
Yep. Yeah.
So like, you sit there and wonder, is that what it takes for exposure for some people? You know, like, how did they find out about cards is what I'm saying. Because they've been watching UConn. They know all of these great women who have played there. And Mohegan Sun has the Connecticut Sun, so like WNBA is there. Like,
but it took a girl from Iowa, right? Or playing college, and I think she was from Iowa,
who got
too,
passed on by UConn.
Yeah, who wasn't even looked at by UConn, to bring UConn fans to this show to look for Paige Bueckers cards, because they want to be part of this hype now. They want to cheer for their hometown girl.
Right.
And I have to say this, I hands down, less than a year ago, I was the only one, right, with women's basketball stuff in my case.
Yep.
Right now, fast forward to this show this weekend, walking around, heavy hitters, right? Not just regular people you see, come to the shows. Heavy hitters, people who've been at these shows that, their cases are upward and over $100,000 worth of cards in those cases, right? Are sitting there with, Paige Bueckers cards in there, and Caitlin Clark. They're in. You walked around this room; those cards are in everybody's case now, right?
Yeah,
they're not just in my case anymore. They're in everybody's case.
It's really cool to see. It is. It's really cool to see. And I know you know him way better than me, but I know, like, before the show happened, I was just going through Instagram stories, and I came across that Paige Bueckers, the Superfractor, the 101, and I sent it to you, and you know him, and he was there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, which was amazing to me. It was amazing to see.
Was it Reservoir Sports Cards? That's the guy.
Oh yeah, Ryan from Reservoir Sports Cards. Yep. And it's
crazy.
amazing to see. And I go up and I like, not him. I know he's done it, and I know we talked, over the weekend. He's done quite a deep dive on with Paige Bueckers. Yep. But other people I'll see too, and I'll be like, what do you know about that card? Like, I'll start asking, and it's interesting that people are having the information where a few months ago they'd be like, oh, I don't know, it's a Caitlin, it's numbered, it's, now people are really taking an interest to know, not only just have the card in their case, but to know about the card or know about the set or something like that. So it's interesting how far that this has come in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and I just want to pull up the name to make sure I get it right, because a guy that I am friends with who came up to your table, Cam from Cam's Card Collection, I just want to make sure it was that. He came up after buying one of the Bowman's Best Paige Bueckers, and he was like pumped to show you, which is cool too, because like, he's someone who's like very much he sets up at some shows, and he's very much basketball and football, and when I've been able to move some cards at a good price, I'd sell it to Cam, and like, he came up congratulating you on your Paige Bueckers cards and things like that, and it was cool to see just another person who was like, you could tell he was genuinely pumped to get this Paige Bueckers auto, and it was just cool to see. So it's like everywhere. Yeah.
So the show itself, I mean, I have two quotes that I want to say for Saturday, right? So Saturday felt like a national, right? That's big.
I can see that
coming from Kevin to Captain 37, right?
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, felt like a national. Bill and Billy Sports Cards, best show ever for them. I mean, so this is just talking to. We've talked, and I've talked on. I break shows down on every episode, so you can go back and you can know how I felt and what the show looked like through my eyes, right? Just tuning in here twice a week. And I have to say, it's been, for me, the traffic that was in that room, the foot traffic. And I'm not going to say when it says it felt like a national, and I know, and I don't know dollar wise if it was a dollar wise national for
Right.
Kevin uh as well, but I know for me, a lot of traffic in there, but a lot of smaller items still being sold, right? Nothing big. And you talked about the people deep diving into my value boxes, right? Which were huge for me all weekend long. But I just had one 5 row of WNBA, right? I had a 5 row, a 3 row of NBA. I had 4 row of NFL, right in there. So, and this was the stuff people were really digging in. Now, I was selling, cards out of my case where I really haven't been over the last number of shows that I've done. So that was nice, but still not the higher end stuff. Not the higher end stuff is still not moving, but that uh up to, I'm going to say probably up to $300, up to
Mhm.
$400 in that range, those, $50, $75 cards up into there. That seemed to almost be the sweet spot still.
Right.
Um, and a lot of people selling, and that's why that's where I think too the mentality is, it felt like, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but on both ends, the traffic being there, the constant all day, with people there, and people selling, people coming in, like wanting, like, I want to sell these football cards because I want to buy this basketball card. I
Yep.
want to sell these basketball cards because I want to buy this other. So it was that was the thing, and a lot of people were very verbal about, this is what I want to do. I want to sell all these because I want to buy that.
Yep. Yeah, and for me specifically, I had one little 3 row box. I mean, my 3 row box, like, to say it was just a 3 row box was
Yeah,
something, because I could have.
you're putting it down because you were crushing it with that little 3 row box.
Well, I had a lot of cards in there that could have been in a showcase, right?
Yeah.
So like I was gonna say I had like multiple. Like, how often does this happen? I had a I don't know, a handful, so like 5 to 7 transactions of over $100 from my 3 row box, right?
Yeah.
Like, which is like a lot of the stuff that I had though was like Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, and then for football it was um like there were some Peyton Manning refractors, there was a Barry Sanders black refractor is my favorite card in the value box, and then some other things that a lot of people liked, but it was definitely like the cheaper items, like when I say cheaper, like sub $300 cards that were just flying, you know.
Yeah.
Um and I wonder what that means too. And aside from that, uh usually this is a slow time for the hobby, right? Like before Christmas, like at like September to December is typically a little slow, and then it picks up after the holidays.
It's funny because it's been a little different, uh and
I mean, it wasn't like that this weekend. That's why I'm saying, like, it's typical. Historically, it's going to be a little slower, right?
yeah, and I think yeah, it like in the fall it gets slow, and I think like when you hit Thanksgiving, I think people will start spending a little money, and later into December it's Christmas gifts and things,
Yeah.
and I say Christmas, but holiday gifts,
Yep.
right? In December, and then yeah, I think then we go through another little bit of a slowdown period. I call it the hobby dead zone, like right when the Super Bowl, like there's a lead up to the Super Bowl, and then when that ends, and before before baseball starts in there. So yeah, I mean it's I think the hottest time in the market, right, is the spring and the summer,
Yeah.
leading up until the fall.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was nice to see all that engagement, and it was nice to see a ton of different individuals at a show.
Mhm.
Um, I will say there was something that I saw like often was like there were a lot of people, it seemed like, who were coming up that trying to sell cards that really had no idea what they had, and they were asking astronomical amount. And it wasn't just like, I feel like you get one of these type of individuals every show, and I feel like there were a lot of these
Yeah.
individuals.
A lot
Did
of
you
people
see
dig
that?
a lot of people digging back in their closets again. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, like
I remember this from 2020, 2021 when people showed up, and two things that they would come up with cards and they'd be like, and you'd look at them and you'd be like, nah, and they're like, what do you mean, nah? Or you probably got $100 here. They're like, oh, don't try to get over on me. Give me those cards back, and
yeah, it's like I
then on
want
the opposite
5,000
hand,
for these. It's like,
what
wow.
what's that?
I was like, someone that had like $100 worth of cards came up and was like, "Yeah, I want like 4 grand for these," and I was just like, "What?"
And
Like,
then on the other hand, you have people handing you cards. They're like, I have no idea like what these are worth. And I did probably 4 or 5 times this week and just help people
yeah,
show them how to just go to eBay and look up their cards,
mhm.
so that they can go home. They're like, oh, I have a whole box of these at home. I'm really not sure. Well, here, you can take this and you can go through and you can figure out, what they're worth, give it do little lessons happening
Yeah,
too during the
that's
show.
good.
Um, so one other thing I want to point out too that I probably haven't been very good about is always staying to the very end of shows or till the actual time they close. And most of the time, I'm always like, I'm either tired or I need to get out of there because I've got a 2 hour or 3 hour drive home on a Saturday night, right? So I'm thinking I can get out of here early, but I've just started to notice that um, staying to the very end on Saturday, even for this show, some of my biggest sales came between 5:30 and 6 o'clock on Saturday, and Sunday yesterday ended at 4 o'clock, and similar, like between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. I was going to pack up, and I said, you know what? I said it's 20 to 4. I'll wait till 4 because I noticed a lot of people were still in the room, and I could see a lot of people packing up. And I said, I'll relax. I'll stay till 4. I had my iPad there. I was watching Red Zone. I had that on while we were. And in that short amount of time at the end of the day, I mean, all of a sudden I did as much sales then as I did probably between, for most of that day. I'm not even gonna pick that out. So that was, it was another. And I talk to people that say, "Oh, I always stay to the end because there's always like some great last minute sales that
Mhm.
come." And even you on Saturday when I was packing up, you still had your box out. And
Yeah,
people were still in
yep,
there digging through your box on Saturday too.
yep.
So it's interesting to see the people who come later and make the deals at the very end of the show. And I think a lot of that was happening this weekend.
Yeah, and I wasn't even planning on going to like the trade night, and I wouldn't. I mean, I arrived there like I after the show ended. There's like the trade night, right? So
Yep.
I was gonna grab another coffee before I headed home, and I just popped in there with Rich, his Little Bug Cards, and I wasn't there more than 10 minutes and sold more cards, just hanging out there. And then I sold some, and I was like, all right, time to go. So like, yeah, it just seemed like a lot of people were like people wanted cards. People want cards.
Yeah.
It's just clear as day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. How I didn't make the trade night. How was it? Was it well attended or
Way busier than when we went.
that the last
Way
one?
busier than
Yeah,
the last time. Yeah. And
yeah,
keep in mind, I was only there for a little bit, but like when I showed up, it was around like 6:30. It was me, Tyler, and Rich. We set up in the corner sitting on the floor because every single seat at every table was taken.
nice.
And people were walking like it was much busier than the time before. So um that's another thing. I feel like this show continues to get better and better
Mm,
every single time. Like
yeah,
I used to be apprehensive about the show because not gonna lie, of like that it was the Pokemon stuff, and I was like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just have no interest in it at
yeah,
all.
yeah,
Like I don't. So, but like doesn't slow anything down at all.
yeah.
At
And
all.
there's a lot
So
of people who do both.
yeah, there are a ton of people who do both, and I didn't
Yeah,
realize how many
yeah,
there are. So And
Yeah.
I'm sure it brings in some crossover to sports and vice versa to Pokemon, like both.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. And I was thinking yesterday, when I went to go pick up breakfast. I got there a little early yesterday. I went to go pick up breakfast and just thinking. So when and I have to say, so here, someone my age probably notices this, right? I've raised kids, and it's nice when to watch your kids grow and to see what they become, right? And all the different stages of their life. And then, I started a business and watch that business grow, and where it ends up going, and how it progresses, right? And it's similar to this show. When I was walking out, I realized, so go walking in, and maybe you didn't even realize. So walking in outside of that show where you hit the four-way, where you're coming from the
Yep.
casino or the
Yep.
parking garage or the hotel area, that four-way, there was this massive thing in the middle that was advertising the show, telling you which way to go. And I walked by that probably 10 times over the weekend and never actually looked at it. But at that point yesterday morning, I remember when this show started, and I remember there would be like, a little easel,
Yeah.
right, with this little sign on it. I mean, probably in the first or second it shows back at the beginning, and then throughout the casino there'd be like these little printed things,
Yeah.
and now there was like this massive,
Yeah.
these massive signage. So there was no way you could miss where this show is, and
Mhm.
it did, and just seeing the line. He posted a video, the line waiting to get into this show, right? That on Saturday morning was just this massive line, waiting to get in. So a lot of this stuff, it's nice to see the progression, the growth of, from where it once was, a few years ago to where it is now, and people actually turn it into a destination show. They
I was
come.
just gonna say, I feel like that's the next step for it. So, like, I know you said people turn it into that. I feel like that's the next step for it.
A lot of people I talked to, they're like, that I knew, they're like, no, we got a room. Like we came up, later on Saturday. We're gonna stay overnight. We're gonna get something to eat. We're gonna, you know, gamble, do whatever they were gonna do, and then be back for it on Sunday as well. So
Yeah, I think the next step is for it to have like, and I don't even know how that happens or if that's the goal or not, but like if just I just think of card shows and growth that I'm just waiting for like me to pull up my YouTube and then there to be like five influencers being like EC3 con at Mohegan. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
that do like the vlogs, the show vlog, like
yeah,
that's what I'm waiting for. And it
yeah,
feels like that could just happen at any time,
yeah,
honestly. So
yeah, yeah.
we'll see.
And it's not like it was well. I mean, I think it probably was put on the calendar correctly, but there was still another show. There were still competitive shows going on,
Yeah.
one in
Yep.
Massachusetts, and somewhere else. So it wasn't like it was, by itself on a weekend, but I think it took the bigger draw of what was going on. Well, you remember last year at this
Was
time,
it you called it Card Show Mageddon?
Yeah, Showmageddon, yeah, because they had the Gillette Stadium show that was the same weekend as this one too. But
And the Northeast Sports Cards Expo had a show in Quincy, which that show was going on this weekend.
yeah,
The one in Quincy.
same. Yeah, I guess you know making when they're making the calendar out and planning this, we always say like could you imagine if there was no other, like this was it. And I think that's really what it's going to start to come down to, some of these bigger shows that are
Mhm.
going to just be, where the smaller shows are going to be like, okay, it's the big show that weekend. Well, we'll either cancel or reschedule, and not where people are not just like, oh, well, that's my weekend, and I'm not making a change,
Yeah.
so, and force the collectors to try to either hit them all or decide which ones they're going to. But yeah,
Yeah, I'll say I don't know because I've been doing a lot of stuff like online. I haven't really been doing like shows and things like that lately, and it was encouraging to see at the very least, like with my specific situation of like just hanging out with you at the, like it worked for me, but like yeah, I don't know. Like I can't like for me I have the inventory to do well at shows. It's just in the cloud for me, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
because the way I do it is like I have so much inventory, it's just not in my hands. Like, if I had it in my hands and went to shows, it could do well. But like the way I'm operating, it just for me, it would not work. But I saw it work for a ton of people this weekend, from like having high end to just having like your table. You just had a ton of value boxes, and then you had your showcase. But like seems like everyone wants cards regardless. I mean, if it's under 300, I guess, but
Yeah.
ton of volume. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
And I know a lot of people are consigning too now, like the bigger cards. There obviously you're going to see bigger cards at the show, but a lot of people, are like, oh yeah, I'm sending this card to they pick, you talk to people, they're picking cards up, and like some of them, like, I'll put it in my case this weekend, but I'm just probably going to put it online, or I'll consign it, or I'll do much better like that way. And it really got my mind thinking too, by some of these bigger cards that I have in my case that, maybe I should do the same. Maybe I should pull some of those out and send them off, and see if I can do better or get.
Right. Yeah. So like it could be part of your business model, like me, right?
Yeah.
Or I think for more people, like um it could be an avenue for liquidity,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I know you've seen it before with me, because I know you were kind of curious about how it works for me with the auction. So I sent you some to see. A couple you were already watching before I had sent you. And you had messaged me, and I thought it was so funny because this is how we're kind of conditioned to think in the hobby. You're like, dude, your cards went above comps. And then I was like, no, Ken, that is the new comps. Because and so this is what I'll say with consigners, right? Or just eBay selling in general. I feel like off eBay, a lot of times it's hard to even get comps, and inherently you could make less. I don't really agree with that, but like a lot of people could say that depending on what percentages they're selling at. But like, I'll tell you what you can't do off of eBay is you can't make the new comps. Like, sure, sometimes like rare cards, they don't sell a lot, and then like speculation, like you're selling way above an old comp just because of different sales of like maybe a different parallel of a card, right? But like a very common card that sells, if there's increased, if something happens, no one's gonna spend 25% above the last comp without seeing that data. And what you saw happen with me on multiple occasions with cards through consignment. And it's just like, it's like, yeah, I'm getting a certain cut from eBay fees, but the sales above the comp, and I don't have to sit there like heckling with people over $5-10 and just like gonna give me an aneurysm sometimes. and then it's just I go in and punch my little routing number and account number, and it gets sent to my account the next day.
Yeah.
And I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to deal with shipping. I just ship all of them out one time. But like that's what I do, and it works for me. I would also say I could see a lot of people really not doing well with it if you're not sharp on the stuff. Or
Well, and I think that's what happens a lot of times. Like I have a card that Jalen Hurts, that green shimmer, rookie autograph. So there's only like 13 of those cards, right? I think that was the pop count, and there hasn't been a sale for over a year on that card. So I mean, people have just been like, I don't know, and now all of a sudden somebody puts one up, and it's like a 3-day sale on eBay, and it ends up selling for $700, where the card is worth twice as much as that. So then you're like, well, now somebody set that new super low comp, like,
Yep.
or it was what a lot of people are saying now is like, oh, they're seeing that people are like, I'm going to put a card up and my buddy's going to buy it, right? And now we're going to try to drive the prices down on the cards. which, I mean, I don't know who goes to all that trouble to try
Yeah.
to drive.
It's
You,
you're
you know,
saying like people are trying to deflate prices?
yeah, yeah. A couple
It's like
people,
anti-shill bidding? It's like
yeah. I mean, a couple people said that about that card this weekend, and I said, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure as anything's possible. On the opposite hand, they're driving the price down to make it easier to buy one.
with how not intuitive a lot of people are in cards, like I feel like that would do more harm than like
Yeah,
what? So people are trying to buy cards to make
yeah,
them cheaper?
yeah.
Okay. Like then you're gonna have data going against you. I don't what
I
okay.
know. Hey, I'm just saying what I would.
No. That's
Yeah,
just crazy to me. Like I
yeah,
totally get why people would chill in the respect that it makes their cards more valuable. I just like,
yeah.
oh, let me because it's like, I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. What is that Hertz card that is it contenders or what is it?
It is Prism. It's that that first off the line.
And it's a rookie.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna grab it.
Cool. Yeah.
Again, it's a day for first. I've never walked away from the screen while I was recording. It's the Prism Jalen Hurts Auto Neon Green Pulsar.
Oh, okay. And then because of the green screen, it's the black pulsar.
Yeah, it's the black. Yeah, but
No, that's a cool card though. But
yeah.
like, yeah. So is that a card that you considered consigning? Because I know we were just talking about consignment, and then you kind of brought that up.
I wouldn't do it now. He's playing very well, right? So here's another team that they could make a playoff run. So I'm not going to move, do anything drastic with it right now.
That's a wild card weekend sale.
Yeah, I think I'll wait to see, as we get closer to the playoffs, what I could do with that. That's a card that I would hold for the playoffs. But one thing, talk about my chasing goats, and I'm walking around the show and I'll see, some cards that I may want, and I'll say, hey, are you looking to, what are you looking? Are you looking to, would be interested in trading up on that, cards plus cash type of thing. And every single time I said that, it'd be like, yeah, a Brady, a Mahomes, a LeBron, it's just there's like 4 or 5. That's it. That's all people want to trade up to. There's nothing else that people are even interested in to trade up. So funny enough, I'm at the show and I'm thinking to myself, and I've been talking, right? So many episodes. I'm done buying football. I'm not going to buy football. I'm not going to buy football. But then, all of a sudden I get somebody shows up with a whole pile of Mahomes and Brady cards, right? And I'm like, here
And
we
some
go.
Lamar, right? If I remember right, was that you had a Lamar Jackson rated rookie PSA 10 in there too?
Oh, yep.
That
So
deal?
what? Yeah, I already sold that. Yeah, that's already gone. Yeah, but just quickly, I'm just going to share a few cards I picked up. Right, so it's the optic, PSA 9, the his rookie card, night moves. These are all Mahomes. If you're
Yep.
if you're listening, those are all the Mahomes. The Lamar Jackson I picked up. This was a Tom Brady. This was a optic orange number to 199. So certainly not a rookie, but a couple other cards I picked up. A couple of Justin Herbert cards. I picked up the Panini Phoenix flamethrowers, and this is the flamethrowers.
And then the rookie rising, right?
Yeah, to 149.
I love Herbert as like if people are speculating, I think he's a pretty great buy.
The rookie
Like,
rising. Yeah, that's numbered to 125. Yeah. And I have the yellow to 75 out of this set too. So I could almost start the rainbow with those ones, right?
I really like how Phoenix looks, honestly. I think it's a nice looking set.
Yeah.
I do.
Couple Paige Bueckers. This was the Bowman U Best geometric teal, number to 15. And this was, well, it's going to look black, but it's the green number 9. This is the green shimmer to 99. Juju Watkins, pink refractor. My buddy Joe hooked me up with this Caitlin Clark Razzle Dazzle
Nice.
from Premier Sports, wrote RI. And then my cheapest pickup, the $10 card I picked up this weekend, and I was kind of excited to get it. It's my first vintage card. It's a 1957 Topps Frank Gifford, PSA 4. So it came to my table as for some other stuff, and I saw it, and I don't know why I bought it. I have no idea why I bought it. You know, when you see a card and you like it, and you're like, what do you want to get for that? And I'm just like, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to put it in my office just because I wanted to. And I think sometimes those are the coolest cards.
Yeah.
Like I have a shelf of these cards, and some of them cost $10 and some of them cost a lot more. But sometimes you just see a card, and for whatever reason, you're like, I'm just going to buy. Something in your mind just says you're going to buy that card, and I'm not buying it. This certainly not a flip, and it's certainly not something that has the ability to be more than $10 at any other time. So I'm just excited to have it.
That's cool. Ultimately at the core, that's what it's about. That's why people do all of it is other than money, right? Like that's a huge motivator. But what drives some sales, I shouldn't say a lot of sales, is just like joy like that, you know?
Yeah.
Which brings me to the one thing I bought, which wasn't for me. It walked up to me as one of those jumbo downtowns, and it was the Travis Kelce jumbo downtown. And it's because my mother-in-law, who's not a Swiftie, she is in her 50s, really hasn't been interested in football till the last couple of years. Ended up seeing reels on like Instagram of Jason and Travis Kelce, the New Heights podcast, and she just is enamored with them. She loves them. She watches all the Chiefs games now. She got her grandson, my son, who's young, like he's 11 months now, so got him like a Chiefs onesie. Like she's all in about it, and then she asked me about cards. Like, so I've gotten her a few Travis Kelce cards now. And then this thing just walked up, and this guy was like, "Hey, I don't want to carry this around anymore. You give me $10 for it?" I was like, "Sure." So I gave it to her, and she was like, "Oh, this is so cool." And I explained to her what this is and what the actual downtowns are and things like that. And she was just really interested in it. But I think it's so crazy that someone like her just has an interest in the collecting cards too. And it's just like not what you'd expect. It's really interesting that athletes and collectibles can reach certain people that they do.
Yeah. And I think if there's a whole new group now that are entering the hobby or entering the being collectors.
Yep.
Because of either because of the athletes, right? And we've beaten, Caitlin Clark to death with what she's done to the hobby, but it's just every time I go to the show and I see people showing up that have never collected, dads coming with their daughters or sons who have never collected in their life and said, "Look, we're here because they want to buy a Caitlin Clark card," and it's a start.
There was a little boy who came up with his mom specifically looking for Juju Watkins.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. You remember she came up and he had his mom going around like, "Mom, this is your job. Go to every table and ask
for Juju Watkins."
And he was doing it on other tables, and she's like, and she was so surprised. She's like, "You do? You have?" And then she's calling him back, to come back, and so it's.
And you had the first like base chrome, and he's like, "Nah." He's like, no, not that peasantry. No, 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 no.
He's like, no, Mom, we need an auto.
The kids were funny this weekend. I have a good story with the kid. There were a group of friends, and as you know from Bill and Billy, I bought a couple of those logo fractor boxes, right?
Yeah.
And I pulled the Aaron Judge with the MVP buyback program. If it's numbered like over 99, I think it is. Sorry if I'm wrong on the exact details. If it's numbered over 99, it's $100 buyback card. And if it's under 99, it's like 200. So mine was at a 199. It was the Aqua logo fractor of Aaron Judge. So it was $100 card. And one kid in this friend group earlier on the show came up to me and was like, "Oh, that's part of the MVP," like telling me about it. Like, which was cool, like that he's so young and like into the like and understanding like what's going on. And he's like, yeah, he's like, that's $100 card because of this, and that. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Yep, you know. And then later, a group of his, a kid in his group came up to me like way later on, like hours later. Must have been plotting this because he comes up to me. He's like, how much do you want for that Judge? And I was like 85, $90 because it's part of the MVP buyback program. And he goes, oh, so you know. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, what do you mean? I was like, what, you wanted to buy it if I didn't know? It's like, yeah, if you wanted like $50 for it or something, I was gonna take it. And this kid was like 8 or 9. It was just so funny. And it's just like, oh gosh.
He's trying to get over on you. See, that's what
exactly.
That's what would have happened to me because I wouldn't have known.
Right? Yeah, you would have just thrown in the value box of like something. But yeah, no, it was funny.
Yeah,
it was funny. I'm not someone who's gonna be taking the. That's another thing though is like I feel like people get way too offended in the hobby about certain things. Like it's all just. It's all cards. Like it's not that deep at the end of the day.
It's a hobby. Needs to be fun.
Yeah. Like I could have seen like a dealer getting angry with a kid about it, but like just because of some interactions I've seen and stuff like that. But like I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. But in the same respect, though, it's kind of like that is very telling of like what the hobby can portray and like as a kid thinking like, hey, let me get over on this guy. Like you said, it's like funny. And then it's like, how much should I look into that of like, wow, that's kind of like what we're teaching, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just,
and it's an education too. I mean, you just said teaching, but it's an education too, because people will come up. Somebody came to your table, right? Went through your value box and pulled a card out and said, I think you have the, remember he said, I think you don't know what this is. Like,
yeah.
You should look at this.
I remember that. And it was really nice, but he didn't know what it was.
No. But what I'm saying is like he thought like maybe you might have made a mistake.
Yeah,
and he was bringing even if he was wrong and you were right,
he could have just taken it for $1 and walked off.
Yeah, so I mean, just those little things, and people will walk up and they'll see like a card and they go, "Oh, how much do you know about that card?" And then they'll say something about it, like like a couple people had come up, and it was something I have to. That I really need to look into when it came to the Herbert card. This this teal. A couple people have said this, rookie rising teal card. There was something special about this card. Like they walked up there and like, oh, I remember. Oh, the teal. They're like, yeah, that was like super rare. Like there was something. Like a couple people had mentioned that this weekend. So now I'm like. Yesterday I took it out of the case because I'm like I was trying to look up, what could have been. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's just like just conversation. Like people are good about coming up and saying, oh, I remember this and that. And we don't know like some people know everything about every card they have. But if you're buying and selling cards, you don't really know. I mean, there's a number of Brady cards out there that have, stories that go behind them, that if you haven't been in the hobby for 20 or 25, like, you probably have missed a lot of those stories, you know?
Yep.
So you may not know, and that was a lot to do, like, similar with that card you had. It was like, I think that guy probably owned one of those cards once, or kind of knew more about that set than,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, he was saying they came out of like said was it like Drake's?
Oh, at Drake's Cakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was saying it like came from that. It was just like a Shaq like Fleer rookie, but like I
Yeah.
looked it up after he said it, it was like $1. So maybe I'm really missing something. I don't know. But no one took it. So no one wanted the Drake's Cakes
Yeah.
Shaq card. I
Yeah.
would have been glad to give it away for $1. Tell you that.
So bringing it to a close here, I'm gonna just loop back to the show itself. One of the things I wanted to say is, I think the reason this show has so much potential, and you know as well as I do. I mean, I'm well traveled when it comes to the card shows, and a lot of the venues you go to are not as good as others, right? So
That's
here
a really nice way to say it, Ken.
here's a place you could go where you've got some unbelievable restaurants that you can, some great food you can find.
Mhm.
Um, really, really nice bathrooms, right? Very clean. The facilities are very clean over there. Um, Easy in, easy out, easy parking, right? There's a lot of positives, about having anything at a place like this, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot, and a lot of people I know came late on Saturday because they were just going to spend the night gambling, right? That this was their thing. Yeah, as soon as I get out of here, I'm hitting the tables, I'm hitting the slots. Like, I heard that, from a good amount of people on Saturday. So on the other hand, I'm sure Mohegan is like, this is awesome. We're going to bring, you know, hobby gamblers in,
Yeah.
and you spend an hour in the show, and hopefully they're gonna make a deposit on their way out on the casino floor, right? So
Yeah.
I think it turns into a win-win-win all the way around, for the show itself, for the people coming, and initially, like, when I remember when this show first came up, I thought to myself, are people really going to want to walk from the parking garage to go find, because these casinos are big,
Yep.
right? It's not like they're small. So,
Ah,
so a couple of years ago when this show was first starting out, I thought to myself, are people really going to want to do that? Now, fast forward, I'm like, 100%. People are looking forward to
yep.
the show. Where before it was like you didn't know if people were going to come. Now people are planning ahead. They're making a day of it, or a destination, an overnight stay, or a nice restaurant, things like that.
Absolutely. I think well said. And there's definitely that gambling mentality within cards that just translates really well to casino.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could see, like you said, you knew of a bunch of people who are making like a weekend of it. I mean, I grew up in the same town as Mohegan Sun, so like I'm used to it, but for sure if it wasn't something that like I was so, like I just knew so well, it would be so exciting. Like to have that as a venue. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a lot of other casinos. It's one of the best casinos. I think it's huge,
Yeah.
and I mean, what's cool about it too for like family and card show thing. If people were to make it like a weekend to go to the card show, they could also see a show, see an event, like do a ton of things that don't involve gambling too. Like
Yeah.
go shopping. There's a ton of shops. It's just there's a ton to do. It's a great venue, and I think you were really nice about the way you put other shows venues, and it's just like I think a big part is it's clean and it's like up to date, and
Yeah.
it's just it's nice. And
But even Saturday morning, where did you go? Carlos's, or
Carlos Bakery, yeah, the
how
cake
many?
boss guy,
I
he
mean,
has
people would just go to that casino just to go to Carlos's Bakery, right?
absolutely,
And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna
absolutely.
go grab a breakfast sandwich. I'll be right back.
And it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. And then for
Right?
food,
Hash house,
I
Hash House a Go-Go. That's where I had breakfast yesterday.
Yep.
I mean, it was like a gourmet omelet and
Yep.
potatoes. Yeah.
And then in the middle of the show, I did a food run for us, and you got like this awesome tableside guac, and I got like a burrito bowl from Soltoro, which is part of the Michael Jordan restaurant group.
Yeah.
Like that's just running over there to get it. So like you can't beat it. Like where are you getting that at a card show? You mean you're telling me you don't want a soft pretzel that's been spinning for 4 hours? Like I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. The venue itself, like the show turnout was great, but the venue itself is such an advantage. That's why I'm surprised like those influencer people haven't really made it there yet, because it's a couple of repackers walking around, right? Like
I know there was one there yesterday late in the day. It must have took him a long time to maneuver around, but he was at the table right next to like 2 down. You remember, Chuck, where Chuck was? Yeah, so he was at Chuck's table, and which was 2 down from Rich. And so yesterday at 4:00, like I stayed right till 4:00. I think right at 4, I was packing up my thing, and I said, Rich, I said, you packing up? And he's like, no, the guy's going to come to my table next, So he was waiting on him to come. So I'm sure there were others in the room, but nothing probably that I had that was repackable worthy.
Yeah, Rich has a bunch of that stuff. That'd be great for that too, honestly.
Yeah, and not like I was going to wait either. So
I don't know though, man. Some people may want some Paige Bueckers in a basketball repack. That'd be kind of interesting.
You saw my case. I could make my own. I could make my own box with the case hits and everything.
I mean, you'd have a WNBA repack, and it'd be like whoever got UConn would kill it. It'd be like loaded to like one spot, maybe a couple spots, but like if you don't get UConn, well, sorry, there goes your money.
Wasn't that the same thing that happened with the Prism with Wemby, right? You either got that team or nothing, right? So
pretty much
every team was $10, and then then was it Spurs? That's what he plays for. The Spurs spot was like all the cost of the box.
Yeah, and then the Hornets are pretty good with that Brandon Miller kid. He's really good, but like pretty much it's pretty wild.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on and talking up the show with me. We'll definitely do this again.
Absolutely.
You gonna tell people if they want to reach out to you where they can find you?
Yep, on Instagram at ZipsCards, ZIPSCARDS cards. Yep.
And next time, I don't know. This morning thing maybe wasn't so bad. I think we did.
This was good.
I think we did pretty well.
Yeah.
So. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. And until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.